tidings, ladies and gentlemen of the Lodge, and welcome back. Today we are talking Kingdom Hearts, we're talking the Dandelions, we're talking Castle Oblivion, Land of Departure, and at the end, we'll even make a little time for our man Luxu. Just want to make a quick mention, I was a little bit under the weather when I initially recorded this, so if you hear a little rasp in my voice, that's where that's coming from, but I'm happy to report that I'm feeling better now. So anyway, let's keep going. But anyway, with this mixed bag of topics, what I really want to demonstrate and point out in today's video is that all of the Dandelions, be it the Dandelions themselves or their descendants, in one way or another, are connected to Castle Oblivion or the Land of Departure, which we have learned since Kingdom Hearts 3 are in a sense one and the same. Then when all of that is laid out, I'd like to rope in Luxu and discuss how he very well may have had something to do with this, and how this may have a hint as to where he may have hid Subject X. And should it turn out that Subject X is Skuld, then we have to rope Subject X into the Dandelions as well. But before we dive in too deep, let's first lay out all of the Dandelions and their descendants, connect them to Castle Oblivion and Land of Departure, and then we'll see just how Luxu may be pulling strings behind the scenes. But anyway, let's get started. Let's start with pointing out the most obvious and living Dandelions. Lauriam was appointed the head of Castle Oblivion, and that is ultimately where he met his end. Also worth noting is that in this scene, Luxu is essentially the one who found and recruited Lauriam.
As if I'm doing my job. I'll have you know, I found one just yesterday. Mar something.
Next, we have Elrena, or as we so commonly know her, Larxene. This is yet another Dandelion that was assigned to Castle Oblivion, and this is ultimately again where she met her end before being summoned back. Now, why don't we talk about Ventus, who was not only brought to the Land of Departure, but ended up being hidden in Castle Oblivion by Aqua. So the whole time Lauriam and Elrena were running their schemes in Castle Oblivion, their fellow Dandelion lay hidden within those same walls. So with those three as the more obvious examples, that's going to leave us with Ephemer, Skuld, and Brain. Brain is an easy one to follow through on. We know that Master Ericus was stationed in the Land of Departure, where he trained Aqua, Terra, and Ventus himself. Also worth noting is that these are the grounds where Ericus met his end, much like Lauriam and Elrena did in Castle Oblivion. As for Ephemer, we have to take a look at Master Xehanort. We can obviously associate him with the Land of Departure. I mean, the man had his own seat there after all. We also know this location was crucial to him and his plans, especially when you consider that he was the one who brought Ventus here. The last one that we have to account for is Skuld, and how she could possibly connect to this location and to Luxu. Starting with the location connection, there are two ways we can approach this. On one hand, let's consider Xehanort's mom. Not saying it's Skuld herself, but it certainly bears resemblance to her. If Xehanort's mom really is a descendant of Skuld, then he too would operate as a stand-in for her and not just Ephemer. But now let's take an alternative angle to all of this. Let's grant that Skuld really is Subject X. Then we have her connection to Luxu. Luxu is the one who was monitoring her when she was being studied and examined by Ansem the Wise and apprentice Xehanort. Once both started to fly a little close to the sun, Luxu took her and hid her away, as evidenced by the secret reports in Kingdom Hearts 3. So again, if we connect Skuld to Xehanort's mom, it makes the connection easy. But if she is indeed Subject X, then we not only have a connection to Luxu and proof that he watched over her, but perhaps this can shine a little light on where Luxu may have hid her. I mean, there are few places that are as effective a hiding place as Castle Oblivion and the Land of Departure. And even though the possibilities are indeed endless, given the pattern of the Dandelions consistently being under Luxu's watch, as well as making their way to the grounds we know as Castle Oblivion and Land of Departure, it would give Skuld a couple of different ways that she could fit into this pattern. So let's recap us here. We have Marluxia, recruited by Luxu, head of Castle Oblivion, meets his end there. Larxene works directly under Marluxia at Castle Oblivion, also meets her end there. Ventus, who was hidden in Castle Oblivion by Aqua, brought to the Land of Departure by Xehanort, and mentored by Ericus. Brain, who is Ericus' ancestor, who as far as we know wasn't around in the present, but his descendant Ericus was stationed in the Land of Departure. Ephemer, Xehanort's ancestor, who was also not presently living, but his descendant Xehanort not only spent significant time in the Land of Departure, but used it as a key part of his plans in Birth by Sleep. Then we have Skald, who can fit into this pattern by either being related to Xehanort, or perhaps this can shine some light on where Luxu hid her away if she is indeed Subject X. Either way, whether she's Subject X or Xehanort's mom or both, we can see that Luxu maintained a close eye on them both. So ultimately, if you were a living Dandelion, be it Laurium, Elrena, Ventus, and perhaps even Subject X, then we could see not only how Luxu maintained a watchful eye over them, but in relation to the first three mentioned, we see how they all had a knack for ending up in one of these locations. And in Ventus's case, both. Then if we take into account the non-living Dandelions, be it Ephemer, Skald, or Brain, we see how their descendants were closely monitored by Luxu, and either purposefully or coincidentally ended up in Castle Oblivion or Land of Departure. How much of a role Luxu played in all of them in one way or another ending up there, there's no way to really tell. However, that coincidence cannot be ignored, especially when you consider Castle Oblivion and all of its connection to memory. But anyway, that's gonna just about do it for us here today. I'm interested in what all of you think. What do you think about all of the overlap between all of these Dandelions in one way or another, be it through their present incarnations or their descendants, ending up at Castle Oblivion or the Land of Departure? Do you think that it can all be chalked up to coincidence? Do you think it has something to do with Luxu? Or do you think something else is going on here? Let me know. But until then, you all be good out there, be good to yourselves and each other, and I will see all of you beautiful sickos and normies next time.